मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, Stop the False Information warns Health Minister. Fiji needs to brace for COVID-19, says government. And later in sports, we'll have all the action from the Vancouver Sevens.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Smith.
It is unethical for any doctor or health professional in the country to claim there's COVID-19 cases in Fiji. It has come to light that some private doctors are telling individuals that the disease is already in the country and that there's a handful of confirmed cases. Health Minister Dr. Feremi Wangai-Nambete says it's critical that doctors be truthful and factual about their information and maintains there are no confirmed cases in the country. Koroi Tandulalo reports.
All health professionals, either in an institute or private sector, have been urged not to create unwanted panic among Fijians by providing false information.
For doctors in any particular institution, such as any private center, to be saying that there is a coronavirus or COVID-19 in Fiji, and it's unfactual and it's wrong. In my opinion, that is probably unethical. Dr. Wangai-Nambete is advising Fijians not to believe everything they're told as the ministry works towards providing more stringent measures to protect our country. We hope to have them up and running by sometime next week or maybe the week after. And certainly the purchases have been done. We're waiting for them to come across from New Zealand. Meanwhile, the Fiji Center for Disease Control, with its Level 2 molecular laboratory, will soon begin to conduct COVID-19 tests.
And once that validation process is over, we will know when we'll be able to start doing the testing locally. That means that we'll be able to get test results within a day, and that will make a big difference to our ability to be able to monitor cases once they come here. With thousands of people affected globally, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services says if there is a confirmed case of COVID-19 in Fiji, the Ministry of Health will inform Fijians promptly. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
Fiji will need to position itself in a way that if there were any confirmed cases of COVID-19, tourists will still be confident of travelling to our shores. Minister for Economy Ayaz Said Qayyum says that with COVID-19 affecting many countries, some tourists have opted not to travel while others continue to do so, even to places where the virus is rife. And this is mainly due to their trust in the particular health system of that country. Felipe Naikaso has more.
Tourists continue to arrive into Fiji from Australia, New Zealand and North America aimed at the global COVID-19 crisis, and this is what the tourism industry will be hoping will continue in the future.
And the idea is to give people the confidence, both in practice and also psychologically, that Fiji can actually take care of this risk. That's the most important thing. So you need people to feel confident to say, well, just as I can travel to Australia for a holiday, even though there are people with coronavirus there and somebody's died, I still feel that the health system can look after us and the risk is being sort of managed. In the same way, even if we get one person here, that we can say that the Fijian health system can manage it.
With 36 to 38% of our economy dependent on the tourism sector, the acting Prime Minister says other sectors will also feel the impact of COVID-19 if this trend continues.
The other impact, you asked the question about the economy, and we don't know the full extent yet, of course, is like I mentioned, the supply chain. Like, this building over here, if you look at the steel, a lot of the steel that goes into buildings in Fiji come from China. So if somebody, for example, is bringing steel, and if the steel is no longer available from China, then they have to look at alternative sources. They go to Vietnam, they go to Thailand.
Said Qayyum also stated that flights to Hong Kong have been hugely impacted compared to Singapore and Japan.
We need to ensure that we take precautionary measures. This is why, for example, government has allocated additional resources to the Ministry of Health. And indeed, we'll be doing, we have been actually doing quite a lot of work behind the scene. We don't necessarily talk about those things. We've been liaising with a number of, business people in the industry, and I'll come to some of those issues later. But also talking to various other stakeholders within the economy.
It was also revealed that to continue strengthening our borders and also for preventative measures, the Ministry of Health has procured more thermal devices which will be arriving soon. Philip Naikaso, FBC News.
The importation and supply chains of rice in Fiji might be affected in the next few months due to the global impacts of COVID-19. This as the virus outbreak is now prevalent in Thailand and Vietnam, the two countries which have been partnering with Fiji for rice supply. Chasai Nanunga reports.
Fiji Rice Limited Chair Raj Sharma says the COVID-19 outbreak must encourage local farmers to plant rice to ensure the domestic rice industry is not affected.
We all know this coronavirus been hitting all over the world. And we are depending on the rice of those countries that has been affected, such as Vietnam, you look at, Thailand you look at. In the worst case, we may not have rice, or we may have rice, the price of rice will go up. We got land. This rice we can produce in 4 months' time, 5 months' time.
Agriculture Minister Dr. Mahadar Reddy has reiterated that his ministry will provide assistance where applicable, particularly on improving public drainage, farm road and securing markets. Dr. Reddy states despite the forecast on the implications of COVID-19 on the supply chains of rice, Fiji still has the potential to maintain and boost rice production.
We are importing 85% rice from Vietnam and Thailand, and we have potential to grow rice here. There are people who are very conscious about locally grown rice and the health benefits.
The Fiji Rice Limited will continue to strengthen its collaboration with the Agriculture Ministry in putting together effective and relevant strategies in an effort to boost Fiji's rice industry. Chosei Ranunga, FBC News.
8 Fijian nationals are taking legal action against the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defence and the Home Office. The ex-soldiers claim their action is based on the alleged system failures that has left their immigration status in the UK in limbo, affecting them severely, leading to a loss of employment and in some cases homelessness and destitution. Maggie Boyle reports.
In an unprecedented group action, the UK government has been put on notice.
One is a declaration of historical injustice against Commonwealth veterans, particularly those who were discharged before March 2014.
Lawyer Vinita Templeton says assisting Commonwealth soldiers prior to their discharge was clearly stipulated.
Illegally in the UK for so many years and are, as a consequence, suffering.
The CNV believes that other ex-soldiers returned to Fiji because of similar circumstances. There are now calls for them to come forth with their evidence to further substantiate this case. Meanwhile, the UK government has been given 28 days to respond to this matter. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
Investors must avoid any breach of the environmental laws and pass an environmental impact assessment when setting up a business here. The Environment Minister says development and growth must take place. However, they must be environmentally sound and sustainable. Apanisa Wangarandova reports, the ministry assures while they will assist new investors, they will also question those who fail to meet requirements.
The first meeting of the National Environment Council was held in Suva today, and the Minister for Environment urged investors to work with them in meeting standards.
There have been cases where there have been breaches, when we then get in and rectify those. But we are saying that instead of sitting down and then identifying the breaches, we become proactive and call them over and say, we know that you are wanting to do this investment, and these are the requirements.
Dr. Reddy says investors should inform the ministry of any doubts.
We want to handle the investors and take them through step by step the requirements that they need to fulfill when making a particular investment.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Forests says they also require approval for development with an emphasis on sustainable alternatives.
We might have to use some areas currently covered by mangroves for development purposes. But we also need to make sure that we are planting. We are doing a major replanting. We are trying to strike a balance between development and between managing our resources to be sustainable.
Minister Reddy says any developer cutting down trees or mangroves will have to plant 6 times the amount they cut. He also stressed the environmental impact assessment must be followed by government statutory bodies and the private sector alike. Apeniso Grandobu, FBC News.
Up ahead, water authorities sabotage costing thousands. And mental illness linked to NCDs. Details after the break.
Pula nadang go aprosan ngarse go erkraki do televe on varong na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
The Water Authority of Fiji says the sabotaging of its properties is one of the contributing factors towards water cuts in recent times. The authority says this has also proven to be a costly affair for them, having to spend thousands of dollars to carry out work repairs. Faria Begum has more.
The alleged act of sabotage does not come cheap for the Water Authority of Fiji.
Well, we have teams pretty much every night at the moment balancing, so it's near $100,000 since this has occurred earlier this year.
Munson says a large number of areas have been affected by this sabotage, and Fijians are left with dry taps because some people have decided to go rogue.
There's about 60,000 people really, and I must stress that we do not know it's sabotage at all. We just suspect that it's sabotage, and it's with the police at the moment.
The CEO says they are working towards fixing the pumps that were suspected to have been damaged. Police say they have received a report and their CID team is looking into the matter. Faria Begum, FBC News.
Mental illness is associated with the prevalence, progression and outcome of some of today's most pressing chronic diseases. They include diabetes, heart disease and cancer. The World Health Organization says mental health and physical health are closely linked. Kelly Vadala reports.
My feelings.
Evidence has shown that mental illness is a contributing factor to the increasing cases of non-communicable diseases.
According to the World Health Organization, next killer disease after heart by 2020, and 2020 is just here, is mental illness. And when we talk about mental illness, it's not going cuckoo and getting to St. Charles, but also where we are stressed, we are depressed, we have these anger problems, we have resentments, we are fearful.
National Advisor for NCDs, Dr. Simeli Tukana, says many people are losing their lives to lifestyle diseases.
NCDs are estimated to account for 84% of all deaths in Fiji.
Health Minister Dr. Feremi Wanganabete says they're setting up units to help Fijians with mental health problems.
As part of mental health is obviously working around the drug and addiction space, substance abuse. So, we've got that small unit that we've got running. We also got stress wards in Lautoka, in CWM, Lautoka and Labasa. So those who are identified as having a mental health problem that may have to be looked after within a hospital facility, we don't necessarily all send them to St. Giles.
Mental illness can have harmful and long-lasting effects, including high psychosocial and economic cost. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
Incidents of bullying will not be allowed to be swept under the carpet, according to Education Minister Rosie Akbar. She says any attempt to cover up bullying or similar incidents in schools will not be tolerated. Akbar says parents and students can always approach the ministry if school heads do not act accordingly.
Of course, we open up our lines of investigation. We immediately conduct investigations, and should we find there has been a breach of policies, then the head of school or the teachers involved also go under disciplinary the guideline processes.
Tributes are coming in for Fiji's first diplomat to the United Nations, the late Ambassador Satya Nandan. Prime Minister Voreqe Bainimarama today signed the condolence book for the late ambassador. Ambassador Nandan died on the 25th of last month in New York after an illness. 83-year-old Nandan was Fiji's representative to the United Nations in the early 1970s, when the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea was being negotiated, and fought for the establishment of the 200-mile exclusive economic zone.
From the moment Fiji's placard graced his table within the chamber of the United Nations General Assembly, Ambassador Nandan represented our nation with honor, humility, and a level of professionalism that set the benchmark for Fijian diplomatic conduct.
And we now welcome Whitney with business.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up after the break, U.S. tourism rises, and in growing Fiji, mature Fijians return to school. Stay with us.
Neha and I'm from Kadavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Fiji's earnings from tourism stood at over $2 billion last year. Tourism income went up by 2.7% or over 55 million when compared to 2018. American tourism recorded the highest increase over last year at 19.5% for a total of 219 million, followed by the gains from the Pacific Island countries, New Zealand and Australia. These countries accounted for over 80% of tourism earnings in 2019. The Bank of the South Pacific Group last year recorded a profit over $570 million, which is an increase of 5.5%. Chief Executive Robin Fleming says this is a significant milestone for the bank as the increase was recorded during an off-peak period for many banks that operate across the region. Fleming adds a portion of its profit as distributed to all its shareholders across the region included the Fiji National Provident Fund that receives an excess of 6%.
Earnings per share and the dividend that BSP pays out, which is 70 to 75% of our profit across the group, gets directed to all the shareholders, which means that out of our dividend distribution of over 600 million kina during the course of last year.
Gary is now here to start the new week with the latest updates from the money markets.
Let's review the trading on the South Pacific Stock Exchange last week. Over 70,000 shares were traded, amounting to more than $162,000. 6 listed entities recorded trading activities with 5 noting share price movements. ATH Limited shares dropped by 15 cents and closed the week at $2.65. Fiji TV shares decreased 50 cents to conclude at $5 straight. RB Patel Group Limited shares closed the week at $3.40, noting a 30-cent decrease. Paradise Beverages rose $2.10 to close at $24.85, and Fijian Holdings Limited shares moved up by 19 cents and concluded the week at $1.40. Following these various share price changes, the total market value dropped by 0.87% and concluded the week at a value of $3.84 billion. And that's a wrap from our local stock market and HFC Bank, Inaka.
Here today's exchange rates are set this morning. As the world's exchange indexes cope with the trade wars and virus worries, the Fiji dollar is making moderate gains against the currencies of our 2 major trading partners, Australia and New Zealand, and slipped slightly against the other currencies we cover. Commodity prices were failing. The price of crude oil continued to drop to near $45 per barrel. Gold was down by more than $40 at $1,596 an ounce. And silver closed down at $16.89 per ounce. In growing Fiji, since its inception a decade ago, the Nambua Matua program has noted an increase in the number of mature Fijians wanting to study at the secondary school level. Program coordinator Komueli Rambonu says most of these students initially abandoned their studies due to circumstances and want a second chance. Josiah Nanunga with a story.
This is the scenario at Nambua Secondary School every evening from Monday to Friday as mature students attending classes. Kemueli Rambonu says more women are now taking advantage of the program.
Yes, the numbers have been increasing. Now we have about 547 students, and mostly, and majority of them are women. So it's quite a challenge to the teachers, yes? Especially when you're having one class of 200 plus students per class.
FBC News spoke to few students who wished to share their experience.
When you see your child does not want to study, so I felt what my parents felt that time, and I want to get back and get an education and be a role model for my kids.
Finally, last year, when you try to look for a job, we try and when we do applications, our external exams results are needed for year 12 and year 13. So I said, okay, if I need to get a job and get a better education, I need to complete my high school.
The Matua program is running alongside the normal school program at Nambua Secondary School, targeting dropouts who need the secondary qualifications necessary for tertiary studies or employment. Jose Nanunga, FBC News.
That's it from Business Tonight. Aquila joins you now with the latest from sports.
Good evening. In sports tonight, Fiji loses ground on World Series table as New Zealand clinches Vancouver title. This and more coming up.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
The Fiji Airways men's seven side finished 7th at the Vancouver Sevens in Canada today, but Fiji remains 3rd on the series standings with 83 points after collecting 11 points in Vancouver for their 7th place finish. New Zealand still leads with 115 points, followed by South Africa with 104. Australia is now in 4th place with 81 points. Fiji missed out on the Vancouver Sevens semi-final after losing to New Zealand 17 points to 5 in their quarter-final clash. The All Black Sevens were too strong at the breakdown, denying Fiji possession. Here are the tries.
Penalty for holding on. They go quickly with Petitu. Filimoni Petitu gets the bump but leaves the ball away. Tim Mickelson says thank you very much. With Karoi. What a pass over the top. That pass has got to be worth 5. And Sione Nanduva comes back to the short side. A lot of pressure on him. 5 minutes out for Kurnabili. Can he be stopped? No, he can't. Wakalasoa has the dance step. Finds it back inside to Ravovo. Joe Ravovo kicks it over the top. Ravovo chases. Ravovo wins the race in style.
Fiji was later thrashed by USA 40 points to 14 in the 5th place semi-final. The USA ran in 6 tries for its biggest scoreline ever against Fiji. Just like the quarterfinal, Fiji looked lost and only scored through Waisea Nadungu. The referee awarded Fiji a penalty try after Napoleon Imbolatha was tackled without the ball close to the try line. Joe Ravovo scored a double as New Zealand won their 3rd title in the World Series this season. The All Black Sevens defeated Australia 17-14 in the Vancouver Sevens final today. Here are the tries.
Now Maloof needs help, gets it in the form of Lockie Anderson, who comes motoring onto it. And Australia will lead by 5 early. Mickelson and Ravovo out wide. They surely score here. They do. It's Ravovo. From Longbottom, trying to get through. Maurice Longbottom into the backfield. Longbottom, V. Karoi. Longbottom, 10 from home. Checks the run. Gets it there, Longbottom. Mickelson restarts. Newstub. Newstub dummy and going right through. They bought it on the outside and Newstub. Nanai Satoro hands across the line. Should do it. Ravovo for try number 2.
A well-functioning backline is needed to ensure the Shua-shipping Fijian Warriors secure another win against Tonga in the World Rugby Pacific Challenge tomorrow. After a very physical encounter against Samoa last week, the Warriors are recovering well and prepared for the tough challenge ahead. Karalaini Tavi with the details.
Coach Kelele Oweri says the team will have to focus on executing the game plan.
The backline really needs to function well, you know. The forwards are doing the hard yards, getting the ball from the set piece. It's just our execution in terms of a backline finishing off the moves. You know, that's what we are working on.
Despite a few minor injuries, Leweri says the side is good to go for tomorrow's match.
Yeah, well, we have had some physical niggle injuries because it was a physical encounter against Samoa. But you know, they're not major concerns, but they will be ready to go in the next game.
Tonga, on the other hand, will be looking to make a comeback after their 46-10 loss to Junior Japan. Coach Philly South says they need more work on their set pieces and defense.
And so, and the second to that is our defense. We are working on that today. Fix our scrum and our defense. I think for that previous game, if we had a clean ball, 100% clean ball.
While in other matches, Samoa A plays Junior Japan at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon at ANZ Stadium, followed by Fiji Warriors against Tonga A at 5. Caroline Tavi, FBC Sports.
France's hope for a Six Nations Grand Slam are over after they revitalized. Scotland won 28 points to 17. Fabien Galtier's side won their first 3 games of the Six Nations, but a first-half red card for Mohamed Hossa left Scotland seize control. Fiji football star Roy Krishna continues to impress for ATK FC. The Lambasa sensation scored a goal, helping ATK secure their place in the final of the India Hero Super League. Here, Manchester United defeated rivals Manchester City 2-0 and in the process helped Liverpool this morning. The win by United leaves Liverpool, who now have a 25-point lead at the top of the EPL table, requiring only 2 more wins to secure their first league title in 30 years. As the Canada Sevens ended today, one man who continues to make his mark is Carly Niles. The USA speedster is arguably the fastest man on the series. Here, despite not having saved his team from a try being scored, his speed awed everyone. That's it from Sports Tonight. Angie joins you with weather later on. And in new media, Vodafone to launch new A-series handsets. That's coming up.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
The constant innovation of technologies is a process that continues to happen. The Vodafone Fiji, with its partner Samsung, will soon launch its new Samsung Galaxy A series after the successful launch of its S20 series last week. Vodafone Fiji's Chief Marketing Officer Rajneesh Prasad says the new device will be launched within 2 weeks' time due to the increasing demand. Prasad says Samsung is currently dominating the market in terms of smartphones in the country. He adds the new A series will have improved camera and battery to give better experience for its customers.
So definitely there is a lot of new devices that is actually that we have in our roadmap, and it will be introduced in due time.
And Angie joins us now with the latest in weather.
Shalom, we're being a bit Jewish today. Anyways, how was your weekend? The weather wasn't bad, so I'll take you spent it well. Coming to today, I know it's a Monday and we are most likely going through the Monday blues, and to add on, the weather wasn't helping for some areas. To be specific, in the west, sunny with warm air blowing by, there is high chance of showers tonight. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, this is what I meant when I said the weather wasn't helping. It was gloomy, dull and rainy to be exact. The night will definitely get more showers. And up north, gloomy and little rainy. Otherwise, things were pretty easy here. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. Now turning to the tides, low tide at 12:39 a.m. with high tide at 6:54 a.m. Sunrise at 6:07. For tomorrow, it's another rainy day. It's been a while since we saw rain. Well, you know what to carry with you while going to work or to school. Tomorrow's temps, looking for a cool spot, then Savu Savu is the place to be. It will sit at 28 degrees. And looking further on to Wednesday, another day of showers. That's all the weather news I have for you. It's back to Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fiji on Pulse, we asked, should the Fiji Sevens team look at rotating players for the remainder of the World Series?
Yes, I think so. They should be given rest so they can be well prepared for their next games.
Tournaments are being played back-to-back and the players are tired. BABA should allow them to rest before the Olympics.
Yes, they should be given time to rest because they've been tired
See, it's just one after another. Eh? The weekend they played. I was watching it this morning, and I saw the boys. They were so tired.
I think experienced players should take time out so that they are fit to play at the Olympics.
What Ben Ray did on the last Olympic, he took in who's the locks for Fiji and Tuisova, like give them game time for sevens so they can get their fitness from 15s to back to sevens. So by Olympics, the team will be ready and they'll have a standard chance to win the Olympics.
When the Olympics come, they can't afford to have second string players. They need their best team. So I think for now we should rest our key players, bring in some new ones, and then during the Olympics they can use these rested players to play for Fiji.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, Stop the False Information warns Health Minister. Fiji needs to prepare for COVID-19 and New Zealand has won the Vancouver Sevens title. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question last week we had asked, should students involved in bullying face criminal charges? 64% said yes. Now, this week we're asking, should Fiji Sevens coach Gareth Baber start resting key players for the Tokyo Olympics to avoid burnout? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day, absolutely gorgeous one taken by Sailasa, and this was captured at Malolo Island, an iconic attraction in Fiji. And you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, via Facebook page FBC News, our Twitter page at FBC_news, or simply hashtag FBC News. That was your news for tonight. From the team and I, stay safe, stay dry. Good night.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka, and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.